Booker, Durant, Beal, they became the first trio in Suns history to score at least 90 points in consecutive games. That's the first time that's happened in franchise history. They've scored exactly 91 in both of them, their two highest scoring games as teammates. And with that, we're going to say hello to a couple of our senior writers, Ramona, Shelburne, Brian Windhorst with us as well. So Brian, let's start with you here. Should the Suns' big three, now that they're figuring things out, should that start to scare the rest of the Western Conference?
Yeah, you're definitely keeping an eye on them. I think, I spent some time with them at the beginning of this win streak a couple of weeks ago. And being around them, I really sensed a group effort to really try to bring things together now that they were healthy. If you go back and look, they're 8-3 since Bradley Beal basically came into the lineup to stay coming off of that ankle injury. And they've been so much more dynamic as an offense since then, not just with the big three. But you look at Grayson Allen, he's been shooting over 50% on threes in that stretch. Yusuf Nurkic was putting up some big numbers. And they have some challenges. There's some fourth quarter problems with this team. They're defensively way down from they were a year ago because of the structural differences that they've made. But talking to Frank Vogel, talking to their leadership, talking to their players, I think that there's a real confidence within this team. I don't think it's all or nothing this season. They may not be at their actual best until next year, but you got to keep an eye on them, and they are surging at this point in the season.
Brian, I think we were all at that game where the Suns played the Lakers here in Los Angeles on January 11th. Before that game, Kevin Durant went to Devin Booker and said, you know what? Forget about all this trying to be the point guard, set everybody else up. Go shoot the ball. Be yourself. Go be free. Go be Devin Booker, okay? So since that, Devin Booker is averaging 31 points a game. He had that 52 points the other night, and he's taking 22 shots a game in these last 5 games. Before that, he was averaging only 18 shots a game. But in the 9 games before that Laker game, Devin took less than 20 shots in those 9 games. That's the most consecutive games he took less than 20 shots since his rookie year. Okay? Since that Laker game, he's just shooting. And it reminds me a lot of Kevin Durant and Steph Curry when they first got together in Golden State. There was a feeling out process for those two as well, where Steph was being polite, Kevin Durant was being polite. They lost to the Cavs on Christmas, and Steve Kerr had a big conference with Steph Curry, and he basically said, stop. Stop trying to be nice. Stop trying to set up Kevin. And they all went to work, and they won a championship that year. That's what's happened, except this time it was Kevin Durant saying to Devin Booker, go cook.
Yeah, watching this team, I think we're all surprised at how slow they started. Now we know that they finally are getting games with the big three, but I'm not in the camp of Wendy saying, keep an eye. I definitely think I would be worried about this team. I know that defense is a big issue for them, but in this league, you can play spoiler with offense. And this is one of the best offensive teams we've seen in a short amount of, a sample size in a while. I mean, KD giving you 40, and I know efficient is such a generic word, but for a shooter to be able to make more shots at an easier clip, the way that he does, it's underrated, really. D-Book, evolving his game to pass more. Bradley Beal, I think he was the key piece because it's how do we make this work? Because his identity has been so far for such a long time in another place. He didn't really have the offseason with these guys D-Book and KD had. So you finally starting to see, they were disgruntled a few weeks ago. They finally figured it out, less is more, right? Move the ball, make things easier. I would be worried to play against this team because they can string together, as we're seeing in real time, some wins. Now, championship defense has to be there. But to be able to play spoiler, win games, and really put yourself in a good position for the playoffs, they're fully capable of
Is there any team facing more pressure than the Suns in the West?
Yeah, that's my view as somebody who's been around the league for over 20 years, got a little gray hair coming in. I say that I've seen teams like this before, and it takes a second transaction cycle. Matt Ishbia, who's been in the league for less than a year and has been one of the most aggressive owners we've ever seen, he would like to not lose another game from now until mid-June.
Right.
That's how he operates, and that's how he's driven the franchise to operate. So, yeah, that's my viewpoint on it. That's how they're looking at it. And certainly with 3 guys, and even Devin Booker has had injury issues over the last couple of years who are potentially fragile, you can't mess around. But being a pragmatist and looking at how strong the Clippers and Nuggets are, I don't favor them to win the West, but I like this team's chances to do anything this year, and I really like their chances when you give James Jones and his front office a chance to tweak the roster, and you give Frank Vogel a chance to figure out the lineups. When they were in Los Angeles 2 weeks ago, guys, Frank Vogel was still trying to figure out which 5 players he was going to put together at different points in the game when they were 40 games into the season. Give him a season and a half before you really judge him, although it's not going to be up to me. You are right, Malika.
Listen, they've got a couple of years to figure this out because those guys are under contract for a couple of years. I know it gets expensive. I know they hit the second apron. It becomes much harder to change that team around. But there's one team that has all the pressure this year, and that's the Golden State Warriors. Because if they don't do it this year,
that's
if
not.
the Golden State Warriors do not prove
the Golden State Warriors are under the most pressure of any team in the West,
because
more than the Clippers.
This is a dynastic team. Okay, Kawhi Leonard just signed an extension. They got some time.
Paul George hasn't yet.
Paul George hasn't yet.
I thought it was the Lakers.
He's negotiating, okay? To me, the Golden State Warriors are a dynastic team that is fighting for their survival. They are fighting for their right to stay together, and they're not even in the play-in tournament at this point. So the Phoenix Suns, everybody's under contract. They have some time to play together, but the Warriors, if they don't show something in the next couple of weeks here,
let's ask the other Rose sister.
I know. By the way, Ramona and I are definitely matching today.
Well, this is the Tara Vanderveer.
This is we both went with our Stanford Cardinal colors and then also the same patterns. But we did not talk before the show.
But is it the Warriors?
I don't think it's the Warriors. I do think that you have Steph Curry, who to me is like the most important piece, and he's capable of playing in his prime. You need to put him, have players around him that can extend his prime. They still got that precious gold right there in Golden State. You see what I did right there?
I do.
I feel like it's the Lakers. I mean, LeBron James is 39. How much longer are you going to look at LeBron James playing in general? And then also, what are you going to do as a team that has those expectations each and every year? To me, it may not be the Suns with a one-year type of situation going for a championship. The Warriors know that they have a window with Steph. He could be the best player that wins a championship, the surrounding pieces. Now, LeBron James and the Lakers, how do you want that story to end? And I feel like that's really predicated on this year because he has options.
Right. Yeah, he does. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, look, Klay Thompson is a free agent. Steve Kerr is a free agent. I don't know how they're going to feel about a $400 million payroll at the ownership level after this year. I agree with Ramona. And look, nobody's going to sit there and worry about the Warriors. They've got 4 titles. They won one 2 years ago. If they break apart, that's just what history will be written, is where it ends. But they are facing the daily pressure heavier than anybody else. I think one of the things that is good for the Suns is that they are playing much more free. Not worried about where their seat is going to be, not worried about their situation day to day, and only worried about themselves. When I talked to Devin Booker about this, he said, we're not even worried about who our opponent is. We're focused totally on ourselves right now, and that's a little bit freeing for the Suns.
You guys are convincing me as I'm hearing you talk, but if the Clippers aren't number one, they have to be somewhere in that conversation. I know that Kawhi Leonard signed, Paul George
No, they're all going to
re-sign.
They're all going to re-sign. They're going to go into the new arena. Everyone's going to be nice and
Everyone's just going to ride off into the sunset as long as they can stay healthy. Nikola Jokic, you put on a show, a season-high 42 points to go along with 12 rebounds, 8 assists. This coming after handing the Celtics their first home loss of the season on Friday night. Chiney, do people sleep on Jokic's scoring abilities?
Absolutely. He could do this every night. He's 4th in the NBA in assists. He's averaging 9 assists a game. If you drop that to 6, he's averaging 30-32, and he'd be in the conversation again, which he already is, for MVP. So, yeah, people sleep on his scoring because his passing's it's sensational.
Yeah.
Look at that one.
His passing is so magical that it's almost like, what? All right, let's go from the East Coast to the West Coast. Kawhi and company finished the game on a 22-0 run to beat the Nets last night. The 22-0 run, it matched the largest unanswered run by any team to end a game in the last 25 seasons. Mr. Windhorst, do you think the Clippers are ready for a championship push?
Oh my gosh, this is impressive as the Clippers have looked in the last 5 years. And I would argue, Malika, that the most relevant thing that's happened in the NBA so far this season is how good Kawhi Leonard looks. Him playing this way makes anything possible.
Yeah, I mean, he's been healthy and looking good. All right, from LA to H-Town, where the Celtics took care of business. Kristaps Porzingis led all scorers with 32, but is going to be out tonight against Dallas. Ramona, how important is he to this Boston team?
He is playing like the unicorn. He was named when he first came into the league by Kevin Durant. 50% on all mid-range this year, 69% on post-ups. Also hit 6 threes and 5 blocks. How many players in the league can have 6 threes and 5 blocks in the same game?
Right, and that is why they call him the unicorn. All right, we're back in LA now, where the Lakers, they beat the Blazers last night. LeBron and D'Angelo Russell combined for 62, while AD had 14 and 14, his 35th double-double of the season. Well, let's pump the brakes just a little bit, though, because this game was Portland's 10th 20-point loss of the season, the most by any team. You got to take care of the teams in front of you, but sometimes Portland makes it a little bit easier than others. The Lakers, they have 8 games remaining, though, until the trade deadline. You can see here the last 6 come as a part of a road trip that includes stops against the Warriors, the Celtics, and the New York Knicks. What will our East and West Conference Finals matchups be? Ramona, start us off.
All right, in the Eastern Conference, I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
And right now, based on how they're playing, and also with an eye towards the idea that the Sixers are going to improve at the trade deadline, I'll go with Philly. And in the West, Denver and the Clippers.
That's mine. Did you cheat off me, Miss Stanford?
All right, wait, we got the same. Brian, what do we have for you?
Everything Ramona says I agree with exactly, including the Sixers improving. It's not so much about the Bucks, it's about the upward mobility of the Sixers. I got the same 4.
No one has the Milwaukee Bucks.
Or the Heat, who are always there.
Heat are always in the picture.
Or the Suns?
But
what
the
are we
Milwaukee
doing?
Bucks surprises me a little bit, that no one has the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'd like to see them play some defense.
We're the same.
Gotta defend.
Let's see about that.
We're just on that.
That's going to do it for us today here on NBA Today.